Welcome to the Bible Investigation Bureau. This is not a sermon, it's an investigation, and the truth will not leave you the same. Grasping the true nature of sin is profoundly important. The moment sin entered the world, through Adam's disobedience, it unleashed a spiritual death in him, just as God had decreed. From that instant, Adam began to live in complete harmony with sin, developing an intimate relationship with it. He became sin's closest companion. So much so that, whether knowingly or unknowingly, willingly or unwillingly, his very existence became entangled in sin. Romans 7:19, 20. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing. Now if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. The good Paul speaks of, the good he longs to do but fails to carry out, is not just any good. It is the good that aligns with the will of God. This good, as revealed through the stories of Cain, King Saul and Samson, might appear good or even evil in the eyes of men. Yet its worth is found not in human judgment, but in divine alignment. That is the good Paul was powerless to accomplish, restrained by the sin so deeply rooted within him. Sin, beloved and secure in the sinful flesh, was the very thing that rendered Paul incapable of doing the good God desires. Thus, to truly understand sin is absolutely essential for every person, and the Bible makes it clear that we have all been wrong about it. John 16:8. When he comes, he will prove the world to be in the wrong about sin. If indeed the entire world has misunderstood sin, and someone arises who can rightly define and explain it, would it not be wise to silence our thoughts, humble ourselves and listen? This is but a summary of 8 critical points, each revealing a gate through which sin enters. Every gate deserves its own close attention, just as we have already explored the first in a previous section. 1 John 3:4. Sin is lawlessness. We examined in detail how the very first sin entered the world, tracing its path through that original gate. In its wake, it left Adam and his descendants traumatized by the presence of God's law. They began to seek out the law, not to honor it in truth, but from fear, aiming to suppress it. Their concern was not reverence, but rebellion. This sin caused a fundamental rift, a great chasm between God's perspective and man's. It severed the harmony between divine vision and human perception. This sin caused a fundamental rift, a great chasm between God's perspective and man's. It severed the harmony between divine vision and human perception. A person may begin to think that doing God's will is simply about being kind, showing mercy, helping others, and similar acts. Then they come to believe that killing, stealing, and hatred are obviously wrong, things to be avoided in order to fulfill God's will. But in truth, we have found that all of these actions, whether good or bad, stem from one common source, a forbidden tree. And because of that, God cannot accept anything, no matter how noble it seems, if it originates from what he has forbidden. It is defiled at the root. Instead, God commands the person to do whatever he instructs, whether it appears good or bad in the eyes of people. That is what God counts as obedience. The second sin, which we'll return to in more detail, is the sin of knowingly doing wrong, and also the sin of doing wrong unknowingly. Both are sin. Leviticus 5. If anyone sins and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though they do not know it, they are guilty and will be held responsible. Leviticus 5. If anyone sins and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though they do not know it, they are guilty and will be held responsible. Only the Spirit of God can truly convince someone that the world has misunderstood sin. If you knowingly commit evil, there is no debate. It is clearly sin. But accepting that something you did unknowingly can still be sin, that's a far harder truth to embrace. Take, for example, a driver entering a place he's never been before. He turns onto a one-way road going in the wrong direction. A police officer stops him and tells him he's committed an offence. The driver explains he's new to the area and didn't know. But does ignorance erase the offence? Will the officer let him go without penalty? If the officer lets him off, he fails his duty to uphold the law. Instead, the officer enforces the penalty and then explains the rule, giving guidance. The lesson is clear. Not knowing the law does not absolve you from breaking it. Things don't become real because we know them. We act upon them because they exist. A person isn't quenched by water because they know water quenches thirst. It's because water, by its nature, quenches thirst for anyone who drinks it. In the same way, a sin committed unknowingly is still sin, simply because sin exists, whether we recognize it or not.